Hey guys, in this video we are learning about lesson 5.2 and this is going to be about what's called SSS and SAS, and that means absolutely nothing to you right now, but I will get on to explain it. So in 5.1 we talked about congruency statements and triangles that were congruent, and in all of those examples, I went ahead and told you that the triangles were congruent. Well, now we're going to be looking at triangles that I don't know that they're congruent right off. I don't know what all of their side lengths and angle measures are. I only know pieces of them. And sometimes if we know the right pieces or we know the right parts, we can say that those triangles are congruent. And there's 5 ways that we can tell if they're congruent and not know everything about them. So the first one is what's called side, side, side. The second one is called side, angle, side. And you can probably guess what the next 2 are going to be. Number 3, angle, side, angle. Angle, angle, side. So the A stands for angle, the S stands for side, and then we got HL, and that stands for hypotenuse, leg. And it still probably doesn't mean a whole lot to you, but as we're going to break down and learn a couple of them at a time. So today we're really going to focus on numbers 1 and 2, SSS and SAS. And no, in case you're wondering, there is no angle, side, side. That doesn't mean squat. It doesn't help you prove they're congruent, so you better not be writing that down on your paper. All right, so we're going to start with SSS. And what this means is that we can say for certain that 2 triangles are congruent if all 3 pairs of sides are congruent. So if we know nothing about any of the angles, we only know about their side lengths, and we know that all 3 sides have a congruent match. So that one, this one, and this one. Then we can say for certain that those 2 triangles are congruent, because there's no other ways that I could move my sides around and get different angle measures. If I have a stick that's 3 inches, a stick that's 4 inches, and a stick that's 5 inches, and I want to connect all of them at their edges and make a triangle, I can't do that in any way that would make different size triangles. All the angles are always going to be the same. Now, it may be twisted around, it may be rotated, but the triangle is still the same size. Then we have what's called SAS, side, angle, side. And if we only need to know 3 things. So we know that 2 sides and their included angle are congruent. So 2 sides and the angle between them. So an included angle, if you want to write that, this is the angle where the two sides meet. So it's the angle in between the two sides. And if you look at the name of it, the angle, the A, is between the two S's, the two sides. So let's say that we know this side and this side is congruent. Let's say we know what the side length is. And let's say we know that these two sides are congruent. And let's say that the angle between them, so that would be this angle and this angle, is congruent. If we know that, that is enough information to say that the other sides are congruent and the other angles are congruent. So if that's all we know, then we can come to a conclusion those two triangles are congruent. Now let's look at some examples of some triangles, and we're going to determine if we have enough information to say that they are congruent. All right, so if we look at number 1, we have this side and this side is congruent to each other. This one and this one. And then the angle that is marked is the angle where the two sides meet. So that, if we think back, that is SAS. So yes, these two triangles are congruent by SAS. And so let's write a congruency statement. Triangle QYT is congruent to triangle, that would be CKP. So some ways that you can know if you got it right. First off, make sure that the Y and the K are in the same spot. So they're both in the middle. And they need to be in the same spot because they're congruent. Let's make sure that QY and CK, yep, they're first two. YT and KP, yep, looks good. So when you list your congruency statements, we have to make sure that all the corresponding parts are in the right spot. Number 2 has something that you'll see a lot. Notice that both triangles share this side. So both triangles share AC, side AC. So we mark it as congruent. If I were to take my scissors and cut these triangles out, that side would be the same. They would have that same length. So this one, all 3 sides are now marked. So it's SSS. And so triangle ADC is congruent, let's see, to triangle CBA. And when I write that congruency statement, I went ADC, so I went down the one with 1 over to the 2. So try to write those in the same order. And then you can go back and check ADCB. Yep. DCBA. Yep. They both have the same number of marks, and I've listed them in the same spots. Number 3 is a little confusing. So sometimes you may find that it's beneficial to kind of draw them out separately. Triangle JMK. So that one had a mark, and this angle had a mark. angle, side. Now, we also, both of them share the side MK. So that means I can mark that side. It's literally the same side. So this one has enough to be SAS, side, angle, side. Side, angle, side. And so congruency statement. Triangle JMK is congruent to triangle LKM. All right, number 4. So we've got a side and this side. I have an angle and an angle, or those are sides. Another side and a side. But the angles that are marked, are they the included angle? They are not. The included angle would be here and here. So this one would be angle, side, side, but remember, that's not a thing. This actually is not enough information to say that they are congruent. So this one would be not enough info. We don't want to say right out that they're not congruent because they might be, but we don't know for certain. All right. Number 5, anytime they share a side, we can just mark that one. And so that gives us enough to say SSS. Those are ugly S's. So triangle FCE is congruent to triangle FDE. Number 6, I see these little triangles here on those sides. That means that we have parallel sides. So this side and this side is parallel. And the only reason it would be telling me that is if I needed to think back to that unit where we learned about parallel lines and transversals. And in parallel lines with transversals, alternate interior angles are congruent. Now, what if you had marked, let's say, well, let's do those. All right, let's say that you had said, well, this is my transversal. If you had done that, then you would have said, alternate interior angles are congruent. But that would have been angle side side, which isn't a thing. So you would be inclined to say not congruent. But just as I've shown you the first time, you need to check both transversals. Because this time, that would mean those are congruent, which would give me side, angle, side. Side, angle, side. So be careful because you would have said not congruent. But triangle ADJ is congruent to triangle AEM. Now let me show you another thing that you may have thought about. You may have recognized vertical angles. And yes, vertical angles are congruent, but that didn't give me what I needed because that is still angle, side, side. Angle, side, side. So that wouldn't have been a reason to say. So you have to look at all of your options. Some of them only have one option, but questions like this, you have multiple options. Number 7, this one's pretty straightforward. Nothing is connecting and we don't have enough info because this one would be angle, side, side, which again is not a thing. So not enough info. All right, number 8. Nothing about parallel lines here, but we do know that vertical angles are congruent, and this leads us to have side, angle, side, side, angle, side. So SAS, triangle ABC is congruent to triangle EDC. Let me know if you have any questions. I know that the congruency statement can be a little difficult to pick out when the triangles are all flipped around. So just after you write a statement, go back and check to make sure it looks right. Make sure if you have any sides that are marked congruent, make sure that they match in the congruency statement. And same thing for the angles. And if you can say that for all of them, you probably have it correct. If you have any questions, let me know. Have a great day.